From the Toronto studios of Muslim Network TV, we are bringing you a special bulletin with the latest updates on the current situation in Palestine. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aishah Ashraf. Our top story tonight: Gaza and occupied Palestine is facing one of the worst humanitarian crises since Israel started bombing it less than a week ago. The toll on innocent lives, especially children's, remains a serious concern. The Palestinian Health Ministry says at least 724 children have been killed in Gaza over the past week. Israel's oldest army reservist, Ezra Yakin, was recorded rallying Israeli troops to massacre Palestinian children. Yakin had been involved in the 1948 war, where 13,000 Palestinians were killed to make way for the formation of Israel. UNRWA's Commissioner General Philippe Letterani is urgently calling for humanitarian aid to be allowed into Gaza, stressing that without fuel, people will fall victim to dehydration. The UN agency provides relief and programs to Palestinian refugees. Clean drinking water is becoming increasingly scarce, forcing residents to resort to contaminated well water, increasing the risk of waterborne diseases. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, wedged between Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea, were experiencing threats to their food and water supply even before Israel started bombing them. About 80% of the population in Gaza was in need of humanitarian aid before the bombings began days ago. In addition, the total blackout imposed by Israel since October 11 further exacerbates the water supply crisis. Gaza's only power plant ran out of fuel Wednesday, whereas its solar panels were bombarded by Israel to complete destruction. Israel's military order to over 1 million Palestinians in northern Gaza to relocate to the south has ended. Tens of thousands of people who are already living in Gaza as refugees are once again refugees. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also called the order dangerous. In an op-ed published in the New York Times, he emphasized the need to prevent further violence and the potential spillover of the conflict to the West Bank and the wider region. Doctors Without Borders has also condemned the Israeli warning. It says moving patients from hospitals will have a devastating impact on Gaza's medical care. CARE says that there have been several Islamophobic events in American universities since the onset of the Israel-Gaza war. CARE Ohio is demanding a hate crime investigation after an individual disrupted its private event. The perpetrator has been previously banned from universities due to alleged Islamophobic behavior. The organization's Texas chapter is calling for the arrest of men harassing students at the University of Texas during a Palestine Solidarity Committee meeting. A man in Michigan was arrested after making credible threats to shoot Palestinians in Dearborn. CARE Michigan welcomed his swift arrest and is urging prosecutors to charge the suspect with a hate crime. Several U.S. lawmakers are calling on President Joe Biden to work to protect civilians in Gaza. In a letter to Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken, 55 members of Congress, led by Progressive Caucus Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal, asked for intervention to ensure that Israel's actions in Gaza comply with international law. They say they recognize Israel's right to defend itself against terrorist attacks, but stress the need to protect the millions of innocent civilians in Gaza. They've outlined 5 key demands for the Biden administration, including pressuring Israel to comply with international law and helping to establish a humanitarian corridor. The lawmakers expressed deep concern about Israel's recent order to evacuate 1 million civilians in Gaza within 24 hours. Along with Palestinians, the State Department estimates that there are currently around 600 Palestinian Americans trapped in Gaza. Muslim Network TV has a special report this evening about the response of world leaders regarding Israel-Palestine escalation.
All life is precious. God tells us, taking one life without the law is like killing the whole of humanity, and saving one life is like saving the whole of humanity. That was the commandment of God Almighty to Banu Israel. But Israel keeps killing. Occupation, apartheid, daily raids, and periodical bombing continue to kill. This member of the European Parliament says that 150,000 Palestinians have been killed and injured by Israel since 2008. 33,000 of those were children.
More than 150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children.
However, some world leaders keep supporting Israel's war crimes. Here is President Joe Biden.
Well, the United States stands with the people of Israel in the face of these terrorist assaults.
This is British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
The UK for a long time has been one of Israel's strongest allies in supporting its right to self-defense.
This is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
We stand with Israel and reaffirm our support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law.
Here is German Chancellor Olaf Scholz.
In diesen dunklen Stunden für den jüdischen Staat stehen Deutschland und Frankreich ganz fest an der Seite Israels.
And there is always Donald Trump.
As President, I will once again stand strongly with the state of Israel. Reimpose the travel ban on terror-afflicted countries. We have now allowed tens of thousands of probable terrorists into our country. We have men coming in from the Middle East by the thousands and thousands, and they let them come in, just come right in.
Now more weapons are landing in Israel. In the Muslim world, the response is mixed. Countries like Qatar, Iran, Algeria, Kuwait, and the Maldives have unequivocally condemned Israel's actions and called for an immediate end to the violence and occupation. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt have urged restraint and de-escalation. Citizens of these Muslim countries, however, have taken to the streets to express their solidarity with Palestine. Here's a protest rally in Bangladesh. Protests, rallies, solidarity, and condemnations. But what is the solution? Can Palestine ever get their freedom?
That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.